everybody? It's your boy Adam. It is April 29th. Still no hot water. Is it even. Is it any surprise at this point? I'm sitting here more than 3 months into a nightmare with this fucking career criminal slumlord piece of shit. And I don't have hot water still. Imagine that. Um, what kind of landlord would pull this kind of shit? Well, the kind of landlord that has started multiple fake companies pretending to be a vet, or maybe he is a vet. Maybe he did serve. I don't know. That's one thing I don't know for sure. I'm sure it could be found out. But a career criminal who starts businesses to take tens of thousands of dollars from unsuspecting customers and disappear with the money and never providing the service. The same career criminal slumlord piece of shit who would, get in trouble with the law for everything from burglary to theft and robbery, fraud, prostitution, and being a wanted fugitive from another state. And I haven't even looked up the laundry list of crimes from the other state. And in spite of all of that, I'm from basically when I'm looking at these, at least for the Houston part of his crime career, he's done all this crazy shit to people. And I spent more time in jail and prison for mean tweets than he has probably spent his entire life for multiple crimes. He's been a career criminal his whole life, from what it looks like. And I went to prison for mean tweets and spent more time in prison than this guy spent. I mean, there's at least 5 things on his record here in Houston alone. So, yeah, that's the kind of landlord that would let a tenant go without hot water for 3 months and not give a fuck about it. And then turn around and say, I'm raising the rent. It's one thing to let a tenant go without hot water for 3 months, but then in the middle of that, you're going to come in and say, oh, I'm raising the rent, even though you're in the middle of a lease. And no judge in the state of Texas would enforce that. No judge in the state of Texas would allow him to evict me, as long as I'm paying the rent on time. That's the key. That's the key in the state of Texas. Other states, well, there's 2 options I have legally. I could pay to have the water fixed myself and take it out of the rent, and there would be nothing he could do about it legally. Well within my rights there. I would have to have a receipt and proof of what I spent to get it fixed, and I can deduct that from the rent payments, and that's perfectly acceptable in the eyes of the law here. The other thing I can do is just leave, pack my shit and go. I will not be held accountable for the remainder of the lease because of the fact that he never provided hot water and the place is uninhabitable at that point. Those are 2 things. If he tried to evict me, the judge is going to throw that right in the trash as soon as we walk into the courtroom. If he were to initiate trying to take me to court, there's a chance I could walk away from his filing an eviction on me to where when we leave the courtroom, he owes me a bunch of money. It could backfire on him. So, yeah, I lawyered up. I can say that now. Because my income is almost nothing, I can get a lawyer for free. I did talk to one lawyer. Well, I didn't talk to the lawyer. I talked to his paralegal or whoever it would cost me like $500 for a half-hour consultation. Then that was the only lawyer that I contacted. See, when same thing, lawyers, when you're looking for anything, a lawyer included, you got to shop around. That's important. Don't just call one lawyer and take what they say. Lawyers are scummy people, and you've got not all of them, but a lot of them are. And so you've got to dig to find one. Don't just take, same with a doctor. If your doctor tells you something, go get a second. Don't be afraid to go speak to another doctor. You know, don't be afraid to get a second opinion. Is all I'm saying. Shop around. I went to a few different organizations that offer free legal help, and due to low income, and they're like, oh yeah, your income's low enough. You're in. Yeah, that's basically what they said. Like, you got no problem qualifying for this with your low income. So I'm protected to some extent there. If I want to get aggressive and attack mode, it might not. I might have to do it on my own. But if I need defending, then I'm covered. I don't know exactly how it works. This is all still in the process here. So the lawyer gave me some specific advice. I didn't like what the lawyer said, but at the same time, I could agree with it in terms of here's what you can do versus here's what you should do. And it's kind of like the same thing I was talking about in the previous video. Which direction do you want to go? Do you want to just go someplace new, walk away from this, put it in the past, and move on with your life so that this does not cause you any more stress? And that's a big thing. That's a big deal. Should I just go to a new place and this is just now a memory, a fading memory, and I don't need to think about it anymore? I don't need to wake up going, I have to deal with this piece of dog shit again for whatever reason. It's done. It's over. I don't have it's out of my life forever. Or do I go into attack mode, not just for my own, vengeful purposes, but to try to prevent this guy from pulling something on somebody again? And when I look at, when everything that I see tells me you could throw this guy in prison for 10 years, he'll come right back out and go right back to what he was doing yesterday. So, like, nothing's going to stop him. Nothing, these people like that don't have the ability to change their ways. If you look up somebody's criminal record and you see that they made a mistake, that's one thing. I know a lot of people. I was in prison. I was in jail. I've met a lot of people who made a mistake and fucked up. But that doesn't mean that they're going to spend their whole lives in prison and, they're not career criminals. And I met other people who've basically spent their entire life in and out of jail. And as soon as they get out, they're coming right back in. They're only going to be out of jail as long as they don't get caught doing whatever it is that they're going to do. I was in federal prison with a dude. I don't even know his name, don't give a shit. He was flat out saying to a few of us, he's doing like 10 years or some shit for drug dealing. And he openly talks about, as soon as I go home, I'm going right back to it. Like, because that's what he's like, that's what I do. That's how I make my money. Like, that's so ingrained in his head that that's the only way that he can make money. And it probably is the only way he can make money. at this point. I mean, if you go home from prison, 10 years in prison, you got your face all covered with fucking tattoos and shit. And, like, what else you gonna do? You're not gonna. If I can't get a job after prison, you think the dude with the face covered in fucking gang tattoos and shit like that is gonna get a job after prison? Like, where are you gonna work? So, yeah, the only way he's gonna make money is to sell drugs and go right back to doing what he was doing. And then about, the feds will be watching him every fucking step he takes. They're gonna be right behind him, waiting, and they're probably just gonna let him go right back to it for a while, make all kinds of money, but they'll be watching him every step of the way, building a case. They're not just gonna bust him the first time he does something. They're just gonna wait until he racks up enough that we could throw him back in prison for 20 years. So, there's a guy I knew who, his stories were all over the place, but I'm not kidding, he's like 55, mid 50s right now. He just got sentenced to 15 years in prison for he was on federal probation to begin with, and he got sentenced to 15 years for having a gun as a convicted felon, but he also had it was a Glock with a switch to turn it full auto. One of those attachments, the 3D print. If you're not aware, you can take a 3D printer and make an attachment that goes on the back of a Glock pistol. They'll turn it into a fully automatic pistol. You get like a 30 round magazine, extended magazine or something like that. You can, it's not like you're going to have much control over it. An Uzi from the 1980s would be more accurate, but if you're a gangbanger, that's a thing to have. Supposedly he was driving through a neighborhood, someone shot at him, and he just was like out the front window of his car. His car was full of bullet holes, and they found shell casings all over the inside of his car when they found his car, and they took him back to jail. He spent 5 years in jail waiting for his sentencing date, and the judge threw the book at him. 15, I think it was 15 years. So 15, so he's going to be 70 years old when he comes home now. And they sent him to a pretty hardcore, I looked it up, I know his name. I looked it up. They sent him to a pretty hardcore prison on the other side of the country. Nobody's going to be able to come visit him. His family's not going to be able to visit him. They sent him to the farthest possible prison from his hometown that they could find. And they sent him to like the hardest, like, I don't think he's going to get killed. He's a pretty tough dude, but they call that they have names for that prison, like he's going to have to, he's probably going to have to, he's probably going to have to stab somebody in there to survive, and then another 10, 20, 30 years. So he might not ever come home. From the time he was 18 to the time he was 55, I'm pretty sure, based on all the stories he tells, pretty sure that he's had about 2 years of his adult life free out in the streets, living a life of some kind of freedom, but probably mostly on probation. I think it's like different, he talks about different bids that he's done. 5 years for this, 10 years for that, 5 years for this. Now he's doing 15. When you add it all up, it really does, like, you're like, okay, so you were out of prison for 6 months that time, you were out of prison for like maybe a year that time, 3 months that other time. Like, there's just these little stretches where he's back out on the street for like maybe 6 months. And they get him and they put him right back. But this guy, he's not a dummy. he's got two sides to him. He's got the thug side. He's got, because you have to be strong, and you're not going to go to prison. You're not going to be that kind of guy in prison, and you're going to have to carry yourself as if you come at me, I'm going to kill you. Or people will come at him and kill him. But I've talked to him on numerous occasions. We were all reading the same books together, sitting down talking about the books that we were reading. And this dude has a good side to him. Like he's a really smart guy. He he has a desire to not want to live this life anymore. And I think it's just a matter of when you don't know anything else, what else are you gonna do? I get it. Like it's in a twisted way. It's the same as me not knowing anything else but what I did for a living before this all happened, and trying to figure out how to use those same skills to survive now. It's way different, but not much different. And I don't know how this kid was brought up. If you're brought up in that kind of neighborhood, because I know where he grew up. I know a lot. I know all the things that there are to know. And sometimes people are a product of their environment. At some point, you got to take responsibility for your own shit. But the environment has a lot to do with it. Um, Especially when you're really young. Um, my one client, he's like he's kind of like a life coach kind of a guy, and that's what he wants to do. Like his true calling in life. He is a restaurant owner. He's been a business owner, a carpenter. He's done all kinds of things throughout his life, and right now he owns a pretty big restaurant, Jamestown, and but he talks about people being, your being is a product of your food, thoughts, and environment. And food is like one of the big ones. He wants to open up a healthy eating restaurant. And we've both talked about this all the time. In the neighborhood where he lives, it might not be appealing. Because this is like, blue collar America. They want cheeseburgers and steaks and whatnot. A healthy food, kind of a restaurant might not be appealing, but there is a crowd. There is a crowd in that town every summer. There's this rich asshole neighborhood called, well, I'm not even gonna, we'll talk about that some other. I've mentioned it before. There's a bunch of rich assholes come to town. Maybe some of them aren't assholes. I don't know. I have my own opinions about that. They come to town for 3 months every summer to live in these multi-million-dollar homes that are on this lake in this gated, ultra gated community. There's like the same people that are telling us not to build a wall on the southern border live behind a really thick, heavy duty security enabled wall in this town. And they all show up for 3 months every year. And when they do, the whole town can't stand them because they parade around like they're the hot shit in town, and they expect everybody to bend over backwards and kiss their ass and cater to them. They tried to get Wegmans. This is the level of arrogance and snobitude that these people put out. They went to Wegmans, and they tried to get the main grocery store in town, Wegmans, the biggest grocery store chain in all of Western New York. Famous grocery store chain. A lot of people know. I would say more than half of the people watching these videos would know what Wegmans is. They went to the local Wegmans and tried to demand that the local Wegmans closed for business 1 day a week and only open for them to shop. People from that neighborhood were trying to get their own day to shop at Wegmans to where the rest of the general public would be shut out. And Wegmans was like, go eat a dick. Fuck you. No. Who the fuck do you people think you are? They've tried to get their own checkout line at Wegmans where only people from that neighborhood can go through the checkout line. Like, this is like they go around and they treat everybody in town like complete shit everywhere they go. And I was there. I was in Jamestown. You'll see more for the 3 months of summer. You'll see more Lamborghinis, Ferraris, $300,000 BMWs. The top of the line, the M cars. You'll see antique cars that are worth millions of dollars. You'll see so many. It'll be like a car show all summer long. I'm telling you, I've never seen more Lamborghinis in one place than Jamestown, New York, for the 3 months of summer. You can go to Miami. You can go to Las Vegas. You can go to LA. You will not see as many Lamborghinis driving around as you will in Jamestown, New York for 3 months out of the summer, because some of the richest people in America, they all come to this place. And they live in this walled community on the lake shore. And there's all these lectures, and it's kind of like Bilderberg Light. If you know what the Bilderberg Conference is, it's kind of like a 3-month long Bilderberg Conference where they all get together and talk about how they're going to carve up the world and, shit on all the peasants and take all the money and wealth for themselves. And then, bye. As soon as winter comes back to New York, the place is emptied out, gone. Everybody's left. Everybody leaves. They come for the 3 months and they're gone. And things go back to normal, and you don't see the Lamborghinis anymore. You don't see any of that stuff anymore. Because otherwise, that's when these people are gone. Well, that county in New York State is the second poorest county in the entire state. I don't know. I don't remember what the poorest county is, but it's the second poorest, and it actually has a fairly large population for being the second. The poorest county in New York State is like some podunk, piddly hillbillyville with no population. This is actually a populated county, and it's the second poorest in the state. Yet these rich people come in from all over the world to live there for 3 months every year. But they have their little isolated community, and they live that sheltered life. It's the weirdest thing, man. That place, that town is so strange. Here in Houston, you've got the Woodlands. It's probably, I don't know. I'm not hip. I don't know a lot about Houston. I've lived here my knowledge is very little. But the Woodlands are a part of my life right now, unfortunately. And it's that same kind of attitude when you're going through, I have to ride through there every day. Now, is everybody a jerk? No. I say this a lot. But the people in the suburbs generally are the biggest assholes in town, as a collective. But does that mean every single person that drives by me on the road is honking their horn at me and being belligerent? No. It just means that it happens way more often in neighborhoods like that. In the neighborhood where I live on the other side of Spring Creek, I get honked at. I've had road rage incidents, but the number of times, but it's like, let's say if I'm doing the bakery run 3 times a week, so that's to and from, so that's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 rides, 6 bike rides per week. If I'm doing 6 bike rides in a week, I might have a road rage incident on this side of Spring Creek once in the span of a week. On the other side of Spring Creek in the Woodlands, it's 1 to 3 times. It's once every ride. I almost never complete a ride without somebody throwing road rage, and it's always on one of a. It's almost predictable where it's going to happen. Um, and it does, and it's not just the roads. If you stay to the bicycle paths, you're going to get into road rage incidents with people on the bicycle path too. Like, you can't, these douchebags in the suburbs, in the Woodlands, are just, they're a different, they're not as snobby as the people in that thing in Jamestown where they come in, the richest people in America all flock together for 3 months out of the year to have their secret meetings and then leave. But it's that snob, I'm better than you attitude. This is my road, get off of it, you fucking peasant. It's that attitude that permeates these areas. And I'm telling you, I've rode my bike all over the fucking place, and this is everywhere you go. If you're in a snobby rich suburb, you're going to be surrounded by douchebags that treat you like shit. That doesn't mean everybody will, but it means you're going to have a much higher rate of incidents per. Okay, so 6 rides. I might have to deal with that once a week on this side of Spring Creek where I live. Once I cross to the other side of the creek, which is, it's like a river. The other side of the river, and once I'm in the Woodlands, it's every bike ride. That's going to be 5 times a week. Actually, sometimes it's going to be 3 or 4 times in a single bike ride. So it could be anywhere from 5 times a week to 18 times a week road rage incidents in the Woodlands, compared to once, maybe twice in a week where I live now. Possibly none. There's times where I ride every day to and from, and there's no road rage incidents in the neighborhood where I live. But when I cross that bridge to the Woodlands, it could be like 15, 20 times in the span of a week. Now, on the bicycle trail, if you take the bicycle paths, you'll have people getting mad at you in the Woodlands because now you're on their bicycle path. You'll have a couple people jogging, and they'll give you the stink eye because they don't want bikers on the path when they're on. You'll have people on the bike path with electric bicycles flying around at 45 miles an hour on these bicycle paths, riding on the wrong side of the path, and like they're gonna kill somebody. There's gonna be, from what I've seen from the people on their electric bikes, it's honestly, in my opinion, it's more dangerous to ride your bicycle on the bicycle trails in the Woodlands than it is to go on the roads. I've actually done this. Like, I've been doing this. Yesterday, I was riding. So there are at least 3 times that I can recall where someone was coming the opposite direction on an electric bicycle going about 40 miles an hour and almost hit me head on. And didn't give a fuck about it either. There's gonna be a woman walking with her children. Some little kid's gonna get run over by a dipshit on an electric bike going 40, 50 miles an hour on these fucking bicycle paths, and it's gonna be a big thing. It's coming. I don't know when, but it's gonna happen. It's the way that they rip through there, it's gonna happen. But the problem with the bicycle paths in the Woodlands is that they're all fancy rich asshole sidewalks. So they twist and turn, and they have all these turns and twists, and it's all on purpose. Like, they could make them straight. They could make the paths straight, but on purpose, they have them wind through pockets of trees and stuff like that just to make them look fancier. But there's all these blind turns everywhere. There's blind everywhere you go around a turn, it's a blind turn and you can't see what's on the other side of it. And I'm just holding my breath when I go around these turns because I'm expecting somebody to be coming the opposite direction and bam, right in, it's going to be, that's how I'm going to get hurt. Somebody on an electric bike going 30, 40 miles an hour is going to be on the other side of that blind turn on the wrong side of the trail. And that's the end of it. It's a bad design. The trails are horrible. Like I said, no visibility past every single twist and turn on those bicycle trails is like a death wish waiting around the corner. But sometimes I do it. Yesterday on the way home, I took the bicycle paths instead of the roads because I just wanted to chill out and relax. But that's the one thing that I can't stand about those bike trails is how dangerous they actually are. I honestly feel like they're more dangerous than the roads. The roads, at least there's visibility. Nobody can say they didn't see you. Especially the way they act and the way that they throw these temper tantrums and honk their horns and throw shit at you and everything else that they do. Pull up beside you, roll down their window and start screaming at you. All that shit. They definitely can't say they didn't see you. So, oh man. I'm going to have to get going here in a minute. I'd like to get to a point where I'm doing these videos where I'm doing something more than sitting in this stupid chair talking to you all from the hip without having any idea in advance what to talk about. I've got to, but today I've got, okay, so today I've got to go on a 54-mile bike ride to look at a place to live. And then, the fountain of wisdom that comes from the comments, it never ceases to amaze me. If it weren't for the fountain of wisdom below this video, I don't know what I would do. All these people are leaving comments now. You should rent a car whenever you have to go somewhere. What the fuck, dude? If I could afford to buy a car, or if I can't afford to buy a car, what makes you think I can afford to rent a car every time I gotta go somewhere? You have any idea what it costs to rent a car for a day? It's like $100 a day to rent a car for a day. So anytime I gotta do something, I gotta shell out $100, go through a big fucking hassle, and rent a car for a day for $100. I've had to do that once or twice. I've had to do that just to get somewhere while I've been in Houston. It was $100 each time. So, yeah, I'm just going to rent a car to go where I have to go. And then guess what? How do you think I'm going to get to the rental car place? How do you think I'm going to have to go to get there? I'm going to have to ride my bicycle to get there. Yeah. People are like, oh, just take an Uber to work. Take an Uber to work. It's 20 miles. So I'm going to go take an Uber. I'm going to pay $20 each way to take an Uber to work. Spend $40 to get to work and back to make $80 to $100 and spend half of what I made on the Uber ride to get to and from it. Like, the fountain of wisdom speaks, and I should just sit back and listen and take their advice. Yep. Oh my God, it's so fucking ridiculous listening to these fucking people. And I'm not saying all of you are doing it, but not some of the people that leave this advice aren't even being trolls. They're nice people who come to the channel and leave comments and stuff. But I'm like, do you even think before you say something like that? Like, obviously, I would have bought a car by now if I could afford it. The first time I saved up to buy a car, I had to go find a place to live instead. So I had to take all the money that I would have spent to buy a car and get a place to live. And now I'm in this fucking dump ass shithole run by a career criminal slumlord who won't even put hot water in the place. And so now I've got to pack my shit and leave again. So any money that I might have been able to save to maybe look at possibly looking at buying a car has to go towards saving me and putting myself in another month of survival by finding another place to live. But yeah, but I could just go take a fucking Uber everywhere I gotta go and rent a car whenever I have to go somewhere. Yeah, that makes a lot of fucking sense. That makes a lot of fucking sense. You know, an expense like a high car payment would be $400 a month. I could if I played my cards right and got a used car that was reliable enough, like a compact car that, you know, if I played my cards right, I could get a used car, compact economy car, and maybe have a $200 to $300 a month car payment, somewhere in that range. That's per month, and that's to have a car every day of the month. Plus gas, plus insurance, plus repairs and everything else. I could buy a car that's the minimum price that I'm going to have to pay for a vehicle on the used market that would be even close to being reliable or have a chance of being reliable would be about $3,000. Don't think that I have. People think I just sit here and bitch on the internet all day and I don't do anything in life, but sit around and complain. Well, I have had time since September when I moved here to be looking at cars and what they cost. $3,000 is what I would have to pay out of pocket just to buy a car from somebody. Then I've got to deal with getting the license plates and the registration and all that shit if I buy from a private seller, getting the insurance and everything else. So let's say $4,000 is the minimum I'm going to have to shell out to be safe. The minimum amount of money that I would have to shell out to buy a car from a private seller that isn't going to be a jalopy that breaks down the second I drive it out of the person's driveway, I'm going to need $4,000. That's why it might be better for me to go to some sort of dealership and look for a deal on a car that would be somewhat reliable. And, you know, dealerships are just as crooked as landlords. So you have to be careful. You have to try and find that one, that diamond in the rough, where it's a good car and it's going to last. And right now, I don't care what the number one priority for me to get a car right now is that it's going to be reliable and not break down all the time. You know, somebody I was just talking to last week talked about buying a used car, drove it less than 100 miles and the engine blew up and needed a new motor. So I have not had that bad of luck with buying cars. I'm pretty good at finding a good car when I buy them. But I can definitely say that every time I've bought a used car, well, not every time I've bought a used car that was old, I've had some sort of not major, but I've had a decent priced repair, like in the $500 range, within a couple of weeks after buying it, because you're basically going to have to fix the reason the person sold the car, unless the dealership did it for you. Because if the dealership would have to fix it in order to sell the car if it made the car undrivable. But if it's a problem that the dealer can get away with not fixing and it's going to show up for you 3 weeks after you buy the car, now it's your problem. So I bought a Mini Cooper at a dealership. Within a week or two after I bought the car, it had a major issue, but it ended up just being the alternator. It seemed like something else was going on, and it was like, oh no, but it was the alternator. The engine overheated, and that's what scared the crap out of me. Ended up being it ended up being when the alternator went bad, it kept the cooling fan from running. And so the car overheated once. I had it towed from, I was only, the reason why the car didn't overheat while it was driving was because the airflow coming through under the hood kept everything cool. But as soon as I stopped in a parking lot, it overheated while I was waiting. I was waiting in a drive-through for food, and it overheated while it was waiting in the drive-through, and I was like, "Oh shit!" And so I pulled over, and the alternator was the car started to flake out on the way home from there, and it was only a mile. I waited in the parking lot until the engine cooled off. Like, probably we sat there for an hour, and there happened to be a mechanic in the parking lot who saw my issue, and he was like, we were both kind of talking about it and whatever, and I'm like, well, I only live a mile and a half away, so I think I'm just going to go in limp mode on the way home. And on the way home, it went, the dashboard's coming on and off, and I'm like, oh my God, what's going on with this car? Had my mechanic come and pick it up. A couple days later, alternator. Replaced the alternator, the car was fine. I think we replaced the battery too. Battery, alternator, everything worked, everything was fine. Never had a problem with like that again. But this was within a week or two of buying the car. And so that's the kind of thing you got to be prepared for when you buy a car. So can I afford $5,000, $4,000 or $5,000 to buy a car on the private market that may or may not last a while before it needs to have money shelled out? Or can I go and, save up about $1,000 to $1,500 to get a car from a dealer where I'm going to have a payment every month, but I can pay less money up front to get it? Those are the two options. I can't afford it. Every time I get to where I can possibly go and look, the rug is ripped out from under me. I've got this career criminal piece of shit landlord forcing me to take all the money that I have, every fucking dollar to my name, and roll it into going to find a new place to live. Prior to that, I had enough money to go look for a car. I'm not going to say the rug got ripped out from under me, but I had to leave. I was staying at my friend's place too long, and I had to go. And don't take that the wrong way. I don't want people to think that I'm angry about that, because I'm not. Like, they gave me, that was a generous thing that somebody did for me to help me get on my feet. Unfortunately, though, I couldn't afford to get a car during that time. Or when I did raise the money and I started looking for a car, all of a sudden I had to look for a place to live instead. And I had to put all the money I had into it. So what am I supposed to fucking do? Money doesn't just grow on trees. Like, I can't just go out and pick up some more money off the ground. But yeah, I'm supposed... Oh, just rent a car whenever you've got to go somewhere, Adam. Why do you keep riding your bicycle? Just rent a car. Just take an Uber. What's your fucking problem, asshole? Why don't you just rent a car? Yeah, I could rent a car every day of the month for $100 a day. They'd probably give you a discount if you're renting it for a week. See, the advertised rate is $25 a day. But then there's all kinds of fees and bullshit and taxes, and you definitely need to get the rental car insurance. If you don't, then you bring that car back with a little ding, they're going to try and charge you $4,000 for that. You definitely don't rent a car without the rental car insurance. Like, that's just part of the cost. Don't do it. Your own insurance, if you already have a car, your own insurance might cover a rental car damage. So you might be able to leverage that. But even if my insurance covered, even if I had auto insurance that covered that, I would still get the rental insurance from the rental car company. Because honestly, anything could go wrong. It might not be your fault. Somebody could plow into you and cause damage. And that just makes your life a lot easier. So all I'm saying is plan on it being $100 a day to rent a car. It's like when you rent a U-Haul. You see those U-Haul vans going down the road. Rent me $20, $19.95 per day. No, that's $19.95 per day plus 60 cents per mile. So for me to rent a U-Haul van, yeah, it's $20 a day plus all the driving I have to do with it, depending on where I move to. If I rent the van from a U-Haul that's close by and move someplace close and take it back and put like 20 miles on the thing, well, then it's not going to be that bad, is it? If I put like 20, 30 miles on it for 60 cents a mile, you know, let's say it's 50 cents a mile. Every 10 miles is $5. So 5, 10, 50. So it could be like 20, 30 bucks on top of the 20. Might be, you know, I might be able to get away with 50, 60 bucks. But if I have to move someplace that's like 30, 40 miles away and then turn around and bring the van back, looking at some money there. It's going to cost a lot more. And it's just, this whole thing is just, there's so many costs with moving. I got to come up with the first month's rent, a security deposit. I'm probably going to have to pay a down payment to get the electricity turned on. I'm going to have to pay something to get internet figured out. So there's that, all those different things. And plus the cost of a moving van and all of that and the gas and all that shit and the hassle. And then there's going to be other things that I'll find out when I get there. And then I'm going to have to get my laundry done. And then I'm going to have to do this and that and the other thing. It's going to be fucking crazy. And it's going to take all the money that I have for the next 2 to 3 months. And I'm not going to even be able to get on my feet enough to buy a car now. Unless some miracle now, if I were to be able to land a job making what I was making before I was arrested and go back to that career, I could fix all of these problems in 1 month. 2 paychecks would be enough to fix all these problems, put money in the bank, and get back on my feet that fast. But we all know that's never going to happen again. Nobody's ever going to hire me. Like, that is a guarantee now. That career's over. Nobody's ever going to give me a job again. There's a recruiter that reached out to me last summer that now every time I logged into LinkedIn, she's got like 20 fucking jobs in my line of work that she's looking to fill. And I've reached out to her like 5 or 6 times over the span of a couple months. Hey, I'm interested in that. Hey, I'm interested in that. Hey, I'd like to talk to you about that one that you're looking to fill. She's ghosted me. We had an interview. She put me in. I think what's happening is these recruiters, they reach out to me. They get all excited. Oh, we've got this guy with all this experience who could fill one of my roles that I'm looking to fill. And then they look me up on Google and they're like, never talk to him again. Never respond to him. Ghost him. Don't even tell him why. So I'm not gonna get a chance. Like, no, it's the same thing with like second chance companies. That's a crock of shit. A company hires somebody who got a felony 20 years ago, and then they can go around advertising that we give convicted felons a second chance. That doesn't mean they're going to give me the time of day. So, anyway, I got to get going. I got a meeting to attend, and it's been real, but peace out.